Today I'm sharing with you my good old frenemy over here, the Mood Nettle Dress, which was a free pattern that I got from moodfabrics.com. I'll be sharing with you what I learned, what I would probably do differently next time, and a little bit in between. Stay tuned, I'm about to break it all down. And welcome back to Dine and Creativity, and welcome if you are new. I'm so happy that you are here either way. I'm Rachel Ann, and I'm here to share all about my sewing journey, patterns I love, fabric reviews, and the trials and tribulations of working with new patterns. I have gained a certain level of comfort at this point. I've only been sewing for about a year and a half, maybe just under a year and a half. And I typically gravitate towards the big four patterns. You all know them. And so at this point, I wanted to really challenge myself and try a free downloadable pattern. So naturally, I love moodfabrics.com. I order quite a bit of fabric from there. In fact, this fabric is from there, and have always been happy with it. And so I went ahead and printed out, I believe it ended up being about 50 pages or so of the free PDF pattern download, which was interesting in and of itself. They give a great suggestion just right off the bat. Let me go ahead and share with you their quick suggestion. When you print out that pattern, they give you the instructions to go ahead and line up all the pages of this pattern so that you can then cut out the pattern pieces. That's exactly what I did. I wish I would have taken a picture of it, because it was kind of a cool process to print everything out, line it up, and then cut it all out. But I taped everything together on the front and the back just to make it really stable and to be able to reuse it, because this is definitely a dress I want to use again. This may sound like a no-brainer, but I would probably only print out future patterns again if I had a level of certainty, which I don't know if you can always have a level of certainty when you print out a free pattern, but I would want to at least love that item so much, because it does add on a bit of work to print everything out, line it up, tape it down, cut it out, and so on and so forth. Here is the finished garment right here. You can see in this video that I'm putting up there. The skirt is a little short in my opinion, and I'm not scared of a short skirt by any means, but this one is one where if the wind blows the wrong direction, I would be feeling a little bit uncomfortable. So I did go on and purchase a very inexpensive white camisole, and then I found the same material of a white biker shorts. You could really use any color to match your outfit, you know, the fabric that you use, just for me to have a little bit more comfort, so that if I'm out by the beach and it's super windy, or I'm out to dinner or lunch, you don't have to worry about it. It kind of just removes that pressure that your dress is gonna fly open or something of that nature. So right from the get-go, that would probably be my first recommendation. I am on the shorter side. I am under 5'5", I'm 5'4", and so even for me, it was a shorter dress. So I'm gonna go ahead and just take you right on over here, because I wanna show you some of these different pattern pieces, and this is kind of what made it feel a little bit like a jigsaw puzzle. I guess every pattern really is, but maybe it's because I was not familiar with their patterns. There were quite a bit of pieces. This is essentially the front skirt. And so if you wanted to make it longer, I would say if you're over 5'5", this would be something to consider, to possibly extend that length out by a couple of inches. Had I known that, I would have cut it longer, you know, to be a couple inches longer. But you know, when you're first trying that pattern for the first time, you don't always know. This is the front bodice part, and they, you know, require that you add darts into the front, just because I wanted to make sure this garment was pretty lined. The fabric is one that I found at an antique mall, I guess you would call it, where there are all the different booths that you can go visit and people have their different wares there. And so I found this beautiful lightweight fabric that I'm so glad I used for this dress because it really did achieve that flouncy style. The pattern here calls for 3 to 5 yards of fabric. I believe that I actually only had about 2 yards, and I used more or less every last piece of the piece of fabric that I did have from the antique store. And because obviously I got it from an antique mall and I live 14 hours away from my family, there's no going back to get more, and I don't think there is more. So the option for me to even extend the length of the dress with this same fabric wasn't there. So also, I would probably get more fabric next go round, just for the event that something needs to be altered, lengthened, something of that nature. The honest truth here is that I think if I had been sewing for years and years and I had a lot more experience in terms of working with independent pattern companies or using a variety of different patterns, I think that this pattern would have been more straightforward. So I don't know if part of it was the beginner-ish piece of who I am in the sewing world or what, but I found it to be a little bit complicated to fully understand step by step. Basically, if you want a true wrap dress and you don't want to put the ring that they require at the waistband, then obviously that's gonna just be a fairly simple tweak. For me, I couldn't ever find a wooden ring that I loved. I honestly, I couldn't find them anywhere. I looked in multiple places and most of them were plastic, which nothing wrong with that. But for this dress, I certainly wanted the more retro, true wooden ring that you loop the sash in through. So let me show that to you really quick. So basically, this is what I'm referring to. So if you're like me and you don't want to use the ring or you can't find a ring, then I would recommend making 2 long initial sashes, and I'll show you that pattern piece so that you know what I'm talking about in just a second. This is your tie, okay? And so essentially you just fold that together and then you can flip it inside out. So I just cut out 2 pieces of this and then made sure to, on the inner side of the dress, let me try and show that to you. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, the inside of this one isn't that neat and tidy. And you know, if you've been watching my channel, I am all about the French seams right now because I want the inside of the garment to be just as pretty and attractive as the outside of the garment is. But for this one, I don't know what happened. Maybe it's because it was a new pattern, or maybe I could start to sense that the skirt was really short. I didn't want to do the French seams because I thought it may just be a little too much for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and pan this camera down just ever so slightly. So if you do, either way, if you do the wrap option or not, this is certainly something I would add, just that tie on the inside to each side of your waist so that you can make it tighter or looser depending on how you want it to fit and how you want it to look. So I just did that right here, as you can see. Nothing fancy about that. I found that the pattern size and the body measurements were very true to size. I can't remember even at this point what size I used. Oh, you know what? I think I went with an 8 for this one. And it was very on point. So this was more, to me, realistic to what sizes we actually see in the store. Whereas I've noticed with the big 4 patterns, they are a couple sizes maybe larger than what you might originally or ordinarily wear. And then there's so much ease with those big 4 patterns. The seam allowance is a 1/2 inch. I more or less used every spare millimeter of that 1/2 inch when it came to this dress. The bottom part of the skirt does require a rolled hem. And so those are just things to consider if you're thinking about making this dress. But this is one of those timeless dresses. Honestly, I have seen so many different times in the store. I've contemplated buying a dress just like this. It was a silk dress. I'll try to find an image and throw it up here that I saw and I loved. But this just goes to show that if this is a dress that you really enjoy as well, you can sew it. You can make it yourself. Another note about the sizing that I really liked is that it seems very inclusive. It goes from size 00 to size 32. And so I think that that would be really nice for a variety of different body shapes, and you could really make this dress a range of different styles depending on the fabric that you use. This is definitely a dress I am going to make again because at the end of the day, I really do enjoy the outcome. Just the next time that I make it, when it comes to this pattern piece right here, certainly I'm extending it because I could even see where if you made it knee length, how cute that would be. So that would be something to play around with. And I also wanted to make sure to share that with you, considering what your height is and how long you like your dresses to be. The pattern does require a sew-on snap or a hook and eye. I omitted that, and I think that that is the piece that you put on the bust to keep it shut. But to be honest with you, that's why I bought the white camisole. For me, I don't want to have to mess with the hook and eye on the chest. I've done that before with wrap dresses, and it does, in my opinion, slightly alter kind of the free-flowing nature of a wrap dress. So I just omitted that, but that's certainly something to consider if you're interested in using this pattern. This would be such a cute even bathing suit cover up. You could easily, make it so that in the summertime, you're going on vacation and you want something cute to wear over your swimsuit, you're going on a cruise, something of that nature. It would be very, very cute. Overall, when it comes to the Mood Nettle dress, I would highly recommend it, okay, first and foremost. Despite some of my misgivings about working with the pattern, I believe if I recall, there were maybe some moments of frustration because I just was thinking, what is going on here? How do I, piece all of these different pieces together? Because they are some very odd shaped pieces, if I do say so myself. I've certainly never worked with a skirt pattern that looked like this before. Usually they're kind of the straight A-line shapes, and so give yourself some time, be patient with it, and you almost have to just kind of assume how the pieces are supposed to flow together. And then if you are similar to me, you can't find a ring that you really like to tighten it on the side, or maybe you just want a true wrap dress, then that would be the biggest consideration and the length of the dress that I would encourage you to consider and think about. So this was my first experience with a pattern downloaded and printed out for free on moodfabrics.com. Honestly, I can't say enough good things about that because what a great way to give back and encourage sewing. So I will certainly be going back to moodfabrics.com, not only to order fabric, but also to look at their patterns and print out something new. There is a pajama sleepwear set that I definitely have my eyes on. It looks super cute. But what have been your favorite patterns to work with from moodfabrics.com? Have you downloaded them? Have you used them? What was the outcome? I am always interested to hear, as well as even get some recommendations for patterns that you found to be more straightforward or fairly easy to work with. Not that I'm scared of a challenge, but I'll tell you what, sometimes when I start sewing, I'm more so in the mood to just do something really straightforward. But if you get started on something that ends up being complicated, if you're like me, once I commit to it, I just want to go ahead and try to keep moving forward and get it done. And I do remember that's how this dress was. I just kept thinking, I don't see how this front part goes with the skirt and so on and so forth, but you make it work. So that's kind of my overall review of this pattern. I hope to an extent it was helpful for you, maybe even normalize that it was a little difficult if you had trouble with it too. But either way, thank you so much for being here. I cannot wait to start sewing up this huge pile of fabric I have behind me. I'll see if I can pan over there. Yep, you can see it a little bit on that chair right there that I just got from Joann Fabrics for some fall clothing. This is definitely a dress I'll be wearing in the fall with some boots. I think it'd be very cute, good transitional piece. But as always, take great care of yourself and happy creating.